A worker at Six Flags disappeared after doing magic tricks. Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Connor Box. First, I'm a longtime lurker of this thread, as I like reading about things that just can't be chalked up to random circumstance. I've had my fair share of things happen that are unexplainable, but this one particularly stood out to me. Back in the summer of 2015, I decided to go to Six Flags Great Adventure, the one in New Jersey, with my mom, my aunt, and my friend Catherine. We all loved the place, so we figured it would be a fun time yet again. Nothing out of the ordinary happened at first. The lines were a lot shorter than expected, a few more broke down that should have, but nothing serious. After I forced Catherine to ride King Dakar for the first time, we decided to all get dinner at the in-park restaurant, Granny's Country Kitchen. We placed our order, got our food, and then went to sit down in the dining area. Here's where it gets weird. A few minutes after starting to eat, this older employee named Roger comes up and starts talking in a friendly manner. He's an older man, maybe 50s or 60s, as he wore one of those neon orange shirts that construction workers sometimes wear over the regular uniform. Eventually, he asks us if we want to see some magic tricks. This is a pretty odd request, but it's harmless, so we agree. He actually wasn't that bad, and there are a few tricks where I couldn't come up with an answer to how he pulled it off. We clapped after each one, very amused. No one else beyond the four of us acknowledged his presence whatsoever, though. Now keep in mind, this is a fairly crowded restaurant with little kids all around. You figure little kids would be captivated and involved, right? Nothing. No one clapped, no one smiled. No one even watched except for our table. In fact, after he finished a particularly good trick, we clapped loudly only to see the surrounding people look at us as though we were crazy. He eventually leaves and we talk amongst ourselves, letting it sink in just how weird that really was. We all get very confused, as if that really should not have happened. Catherine and I decide to run after him just to casually talk to him. Roger wasn't a fast man. He walked slowly with a slight limp. He was old. It had only been a few moments, and we saw the direction he was going. We almost ran to catch up with him, only to find that he was gone. There wasn't a trace of him, and there was only one direction that he could go. We asked some of the other employees about him, and they said they had no idea who we were talking about. You'd figure some old guy who does magic tricks would be fairly popular with the other employees, but they all just looked at us confused. He was gone. When we got home, we decided to research it online. We found an article mentioning Roger. It was the most recent thing we could find. It was from 2004, and he looked exactly the same. Missing events and jumping into different timelines? Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Kiss with Venom. I've had a little too many close calls when it comes to death. I'm going to make a small point of when, where, how, and what I don't remember. I'd like to know if maybe the reason I don't remember some of the details is because I went into a different timeline. 2 to 3 years old, sitting on top bunk of sister's bed and fell backwards where the stairs were. That's all I remember. My dad says that I fell in the toy chest and didn't cry or get hurt, but I don't ever recall being picked up after or landing or even hitting anything. 10 to 11 years old, my friend and I were walking through an old train tunnel which hadn't been used in years. We often took this route to her house from mine at the time, and we were walking and talking, not paying attention, and then a train from one side came flying past us, as did another on the opposite side, going the opposite way. I don't remember ever leaving that spot, the trains stopping or making it home that night. I asked her about it and she said she can't remember either. Keep in mind it took an hour to get from her house to mine. The train tunnel was only a half hour away. 11 and 12, I was outside of my school at the time, which was across from a high school. We had a gate around our school, but I was standing outside of it. There is a street in between both schools and gravel sidewalks, which is where I was standing. It was a break for all of us, so usually we headed to the store next to the school. I was about to walk across the street when one car came flying down the road and another came flying out of the school's parking lot, about a foot or less away from me, and I remember debris flying everywhere and lots of screaming. But that's all I can remember. I can't remember the rest of the day, being questioned, going to the hospital, seeing police or ambulances. I questioned old classmates and friends, and they all remembered the day vividly, but said I wasn't at school that day, when I very clearly was. I was never allowed to miss school, and I remember that morning talking to my best friend at the time, at school, about what we were getting from the store for lunch. 15. My best friend, my boyfriend at the time, and her boyfriend at the time, all went swimming in the river. I've never been good at swimming, but everyone else was, so I knew I'd be okay. We got pulled by a current as we swam across. I was pulled under, and I don't remember ever getting out of the water, or being saved, or the rest of that day. Did I jump into different timelines each time because I died? The strangest part is I've always had a sense that I'm going to die young, and now thinking about all my near-death experiences and missing events, I wonder if I already have. Another teleporting cat posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Hirakarusuruto. I was just sitting at my computer, got up, stepped over my cat, who was lounging just outside the door belly up on the ground. Then I took a step and my cat was in front of me, sitting calmly on a table in the living room and looking at me. There was no noise, even though the table was rickety, and he was perfectly still when I saw him the second time. To give you guys an idea of how fast this was, I literally saw him on the ground, was careful not to step on him. He thinks doorways are a good place to lounge in front of. I looked up and saw him again on a table several feet in front of me. It was like he turned over, bolted to the table, hopped up silently, then froze and looked at me, all in the span of a second. And without me seeing any of it, I did a double take, looked at the spot on the floor where he'd just been, looked back at him and said, "Really? Really, bud? That's not just fast or stealthy, that's blazingly fast and borderline ghost-like." Although I can say for sure my cat cannot actually teleport, because if he did, he wouldn't freak out when I'm in the bathroom trying to dig his way under the floor. But as someone wrote in an earlier thread on teleporting cats, felines do not seem to be bound by the normal laws of physics. My doppelganger left a voice message, posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Lucifer's Pet. This happened to me over 2 years ago, and I couldn't figure out what it was until I found this subreddit just a while ago. I'm still not sure if this is a glitch or something else, but here's my story. I woke up to my doctor calling my cell phone. She asked me, "What appointment were you talking about?" I was confused, so she explained to me that I'd left a voice message some days earlier telling her that I want to cancel my appointment with the doctor. I had no memory of doing that, and since I'm terrified of talking on the phone, I never call anyone without thinking it through. I couldn't have called her without knowing it. I tried to tell her that there's been a mistake and I don't know who had left the voice message, but I'm sure it wasn't me. Here's where it gets a bit creepy. She said it was me for sure, same voice, same number. I still don't know how this is possible. I thought I spoke to my mother, but apparently I never called anyone. Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Musical Nipinda. My dad always picks me up from work, and I always call about a half hour before I think I'm going to be ready to leave. Today I called home as usual and my mom picked up. I told her I'd be ready around 9. She said okay and that she'd send my dad over when I was ready. We exchanged I love yous and goodbyes and hung up. Nothing out of the ordinary, but Dad didn't come. I called his cell around 9:15. He says no one ever told him to come get me. I figured Mom just forgot to mention it. So we get home and I asked her about it, and she says I never called home. I checked my phone's log to prove it to her, but lo and behold, there was no log for a call home that day, nor any call around 8:30 other than the call to my dad at 9:15. I hadn't made one since 2:30ish according to the phone. My dad backs it up further by saying he was home and in the living room with my mother around the same time, and the phone never rang. The home phone's log said the call they received was at 6:20, and it was just a random telemarketer. So the question remains, why do I remember very clearly making a call that evidently never happened? Who did I speak to on the phone, if not my mother?